Good morning, boys. So, in the last video, we had seen that Father Moore and had composed the poem, and Franz Gruber had given music to the poem, and they had decided to sing at the church, and they sang the song in the church with and Franz Gruber played his guitar instead of the church organ. Okay, so why didn't they play the church organ and the guitar was played? Was the reason was the church organ was out of order. So now let us see what is this organ. Now this is an organ. Now, an organ is a piano like musical instrument played in a church. It is like a piano, but it is smaller in size. Okay, so since the church organ was out of order, they played to the tune of the guitar. The congregation at the church loved the new song. They hummed along and were deeply moved by the words. The song had begun to spread its magic. A few days later, an organ builder from another village came to repair the church organ. So we see that when the song was sung at the church, the congregation enjoyed and really liked the song. What is the meaning of congregation? Again, page 47. A group of people gathered in a church is a congregation. So, all the people who came to attend the service in the church that day were very happy to hear the new song, and it spread joy and it was magical. So, now since the organ was out of order, the a person came to repair the organ, an organ builder, and he was from another village. And when he repaired it, he said, "It is fine now," he told Franz Gruber. "Please play a tune and check." Franz Gruber began to play the new song. So he played the tune of the new song that they had composed. The organ builder stood rapt with awe, and the organ builder was mesmerized. He was engrossed in the music. He was really very astonished to hear such a beautiful tune. As the musical notes washed over him, his heart filled with joy. "I have never heard this song before. Can I learn it?" asked the organ builder. "My friends and neighbors would love to hear it." Franz Gruber agreed, and that's how the song took its first step outside the tiny village where it was born. So, for the first time, this new song, which was composed by Father Moore, was taken out of the village by the organ builder because he had learnt the song. The organ builder gathered the children of his village and taught them the song. They called it Song from Heaven. So the children in the organ builder's village loved the song and they named the song Song from Heaven. And soon this song became popular in several neighboring villages as well. So we can see how the song was slowly spreading to different parts of the country. So In time, the song reached the lips of the most wonderful singers, the Stradzire children of Zillertal Valley. Everyone agreed that the children, Caroline, Joseph, Andreas, and Emily, sang like angels. They were often called to sing at local events. So children were these children were expert singers, and soon these children too learnt the song. Now, everyone were of the opinion that they sang like angels. They were often called to sing at local events. Though little Emily was so young that she could barely pronounce the words of the song. So, little Emily was a tiny little girl, but she too sang very well. So, she was one of the kids in this, among these children who sang, and she was the youngest, and she could barely pronounce the words. Okay, but she sang beautifully. Now, they were all siblings, okay? They were all brothers and sisters. Their parents were glove makers, okay? Every year in spring, the family traveled northward to Leipzig to sell their wares at the annual trade fair. Leipzig was a large, busy city, and the children often felt lost and uncomfortable in the crowded place. So these kids, their parents were glove makers, and they had to go to this city, Leipzig, to sell their gloves, and there to make money, and they had to take their children along. But the children were not very happy to go to Leipzig. Anyway, they had to follow what their parents told them, so they had to go along. That year, when they were feeling particularly homesick, so Caroline suggested, I know what will lift our spirits. Let's sing. So they decided to sing. So, at the suggestion of Caroline, they decided to sing. Yes, let's, agreed the others. The children stood in a corner of the street and started singing. Of course, they chose their favorite song, Song from Heaven. Soon, people stopped and gathered around the children, mesmerized by their melodious voices and the beautiful words. Once more, they cried, each time the Starser's children finished the song. One elderly man in particular observed the children keenly. When they had finished, he walked up to them. What an enchanting performance! What voices, he said, shaking their hands. Thank you, sir. I am the Director General of Music in the Kingdom of Saxony. Now, these are places in Germany. We have a concert this evening. All of you must attend. I will talk to your parents, he said. We'd love to, the children exclaimed, delighted at being given this opportunity. That evening, the Starzers walked into a grand auditorium. So they walked into a grand auditorium. Okay, you know what's an auditorium? Where functions happen, concerts happen, musical concerts happen. It was filled with well dressed gentlemen and ladies in fine gowns. They sat in a corner, enjoying the music. Then, as the last notes of the final song rang out, the Director General of Music walked onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, a short while ago I had the privilege of listening to the finest voices that this land has ever known. I'd like to invite them on stage to sing their beautiful song for our Highnesses, the King and Queen of Saxony. Please come up, the starters. The children turned crimson with embarrassment. Crimson means very dark red. Okay? The entire auditorium applauded. What is applauded? Clapped. Okay? Encouraging them along. Don't look at those little. Don't look at those people. Little Emily whispered to her siblings. So the tiny one who could hardly speak, she seemed to be the wisest. And what did she tell her brothers and sisters? Don't look at the people who are watching us. Why? Otherwise, we will get nervous and we won't be able to sing. We should just shut our eyes and imagine that we are at home singing to our friends. The children nodded in agreement. They began singing Song from Heaven. And when they had finished, you could have heard a pin drop. Now, what does that mean? When they finished their song, there was not a word. That means there was so much silence that even if a pin dropped, you could hear the noise. Absolutely quiet everyone was. Why? They were all awestruck. They were mesmerized. They were shocked. They never heard such voice and such beautiful composition. The stunned audience, shocked, okay, took a moment to recover from the spell of the song. So for a moment, they were still all quiet. And then when they suddenly felt that the song had ended, they all started clapping loudly before they burst into a thunderous applause. Everyone got to their feet, giving the astonished children a standing ovation. So they were so happy that they all clapped loudly and they all stood up and clapped for the children. Standing ovation means standing up and clapping by showing that respect to the person who has performed. Just then, a uniformed man walked up to the children with a message. The king and queen of Saxony wished to speak to them. What a moving song, the queen said after the children had courtesied before her. Courtesied means bending like a bow, okay? We've never heard it before. Joseph cleared his throat and replied that it was a folk song. Well, you must sing it for us again, said the king. Come to the palace and sing it at the special Christmas service. This is how in the Christmas of 1832. So, this is how in the Christmas of 1832, the song traveled to the Royal Saxon Court chapel and enchanted the entire congregation. So, in 1832, the song reached the king and the queen of Saxony and their chapel, where the people who had attended service in that chapel, they all heard the song and they were enchanted. From there on, the song traveled around the world, capturing people's heart wherever it went. Even through the pain and despair of World War I, Song from Heaven spread its magic. So, from there on, the song kept traveling and it went and became famous all over the world. And they are saying it traveled far and wide. And even when there was a war, the First World War, this song brought cheer, happiness, and joy even during a war. So, on the 25th of December 1914, in the middle of the war, during that time war was on, the English and the German troops decided to call a Christmas truce. So they were at war, the English and the German troops, but they decided to call a Christmas truce. That means to stop the war for some time. The meaning is given there on page 49, truce, a temporary stop to fighting. So because it was Christmas time, they decided to temporarily stop fighting. And what did they do? Soldiers of both armies sang this carol simultaneously. So both the German and the English people, soldiers, sang this carol, the Song from Heaven, which we know as the Silent Night, sang this song together. It was the one carol that both sides knew, connecting them in the midst of enmity and turmoil. So, that was one carol even the Germans knew and even the English soldiers knew. The English sang the English version and the Germans sang the German version. Okay? So, and that connected their hearts and made them feel happy and joyful even during the war. As we know, songs can uplift our spirit and they can connect our hearts. The song continues to spread its joy and peace even today. This simple song from a tiny village in Austria now resonates in the hearts of millions of people every Christmas. And it is read, the words are these: Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. So, this is the beautiful carol, and the carol which spreads joy and makes us feel cheerful and peaceful too. So that brings us to the end of this lesson. Please read the chapter quite a few times.